And speaking about love, we are going to get our passport because we're going to fly to one of the cities that I absolutely love in this entire world because we are going to have an artist from the island state of Singapore. And we're so excited because he is a teacher and a poet, and he has edited three poetry anthologies, including From Walden to Woodlands, 2015, and Love at the Gallery in 2017. His writings have been featured in Singapore's Straits Times, Today, and QLRS, Poetry.sg, and elsewhere. He holds a master's degree in English from UCL or University College London. He has served as a judge of the National Poetry Competition organized by the Poetry Festival Singapore. In 2019, he was a recipient of the Outstanding Youth in Education Award, or OYEA, by the Singapore Ministry of Education. Let us all welcome here, we poetry, Wai Kit O Yeong.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, I've started my video. I hope, can you see me?
Absolutely, and we can hear you clearly as well.
Hi. Thank
Hello.
you for hosting and Indigo for inviting me.
Welcome to We Poetry.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
How's Singapore right now?
Now we're also going through this semi-lockdown, which we call a circuit breaker. So yeah, it's a precious opportunity to reflect and to cherish what we have. So glad to be here.
And we're so happy also that because also of this lockdown that's happening all over the world, it's interesting that we have come together more often now than before online, and we've bridged so many cultures as well using this platform. So thank you for sharing your word with us. And later on, after your poems, I think we're going to go underneath the letters. We're very, very excited. Yay! Okay, thank you so much again. And here we are. Stage is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, now, given that our theme for this session is about art, right, and music, and given that you're hosting this from the Philippines, I wanted the first poem that I'm reading, to honor Filipino artwork. So this is the first of 5 poems. So I'll share 5 poems this session, and I hope you find them meaningful. So the first poem I'm reading is inspired by a Filipino painting, and it's currently displayed at the National Gallery, Singapore. So it's featured right here in this book, which is for artworks at the National Gallery, Singapore. And so you see this beautiful painting right here. This artwork is titled Lupa sa Aming Altar, Land in Our Altar, by the Filipino artist Imelda Cajipe-Andaya. So what's interesting is that she focused on depicting everyday scenes in the 1980s, like agricultural workers laboring in the fields or simply praying. And it's interesting that in this triptych, there are 3 panels right here, she used materials found in the local communities, like sawali sheets, the bamboo matting used to form partitions in rural homes. So I was really impressed by how the artist foregrounded the predicament of rural women and how steadfastly they maintain their faith at the time of increasing social injustice, of militarization. So just to honor their legacy, here's presenting my first poem, and it's called Stigmata, a triptych. So it's also right here, Stigmata. Stigmata, a triptych. 1. In the beginning were hands, lean, coarse, sinewy, fissured hands, outstretched to offer blessings of hope to the land, watered by prayers for gentle harvests issuing from mud and stone, palms with calluses that recall the discipline of a savior whose might outstrips even the power, stirring the shoots to cling on despite the drought. arms raised in benediction before reaching for the earth, consecrating it with rich seed, while wielding sickles poised to hallow the unyielding ground. Bent over in fervent genuflection, these able farmhands etch humble devotions upon the landscape, but they bleed. 2. And it comes to pass, the old paddy fields resume abstinence and fasting. Nature's endurance still extends, curving like gnawed limbs, grasping onto knotted stumps, mangled like the hands of the army that renders unto Caesar that which is God's, that comes every season, but never hears the rasping hymns the mother sings every day while weaving bamboo mats and gossamer doilies by hand. Nor can they notice the faint glint from the diaphanous wisp of hair on her daughter's brow. Her eyes, soothed by soft horizons, whispered beneath the halo of a fragmented sun, crimson like pierced hands. 3. For salvation is by grace through faith, not by works, to be tested with Job's afflictions as the storm approaches, answered prayers spilling over as troops of rain mount fresh attacks on sodden soil, rattling the tawny huts with thrusting downpours, hastening to form cascading rivulets, mingling with blood and tears. This tempest sows doubt in the fields. Yet it cannot drown the stubble of young shoots. Peering out of the darkness, the mother waits. Undaunted, she watches like a guerrilla warrior. Hers is a subtle strength, aching to grow like bamboo, ready to bestow with cupped palms the sanctuary of a rough-hewn heaven. Okay, so that was my first poem, and moving on, this next poem is also inspired by another artwork at the National Gallery of Singapore. But instead of a painting, this one is a sculpture, and I have a picture of it right here. So this is Mother and Child, created in 1978 by the Singaporean artist Yeong Kwang. And it reminded me of a kind of dance between parent and offspring, right? And it also triggered my own thoughts about my relationship with my mother. So this is Nursing at Home. And this is the point where I have to do a plug. So it's also featured here at Love at the Gallery, which is, it features poems about artworks at the National Gallery of Singapore. So this is Nursing at Home. Nursing at home. Even as the spotlight on you dims, I can see you swaying ever so slightly while caressing my infant self, like a banyan tree bending to the wind in the faint moonlight, cradling a seed that promises to become glittering sunshine. With a long, soft rustle, I nestle in warmth, couched in the crevice of your embrace, snuggling amidst immensity. You let me girdle your bosom and belly. Reveling in rotundity, I clasp round forms. My warm cheek turns towards its spring as if pressed against the skin of the world, gurgling while imbibing the milk of memory. This is the dew of your touch, each drop an elixir of patience eager to be swallowed, as intimate as the Madonna and Child, a benediction of blessings offered heavenwards. Now, the mother has become the infant. It is your turn to gurgle. Your body is heavy, but your mind is taking flight, lifting off into the bliss of emptiness, and we are waltzing again. Slowly, you lead me out of the labyrinth of the everyday. Mother, guardian, protector, hold me in repose. Let us sway ever so tenderly, swaying and swaying until your light gently fades away. Okay, so now on to my third poem, my third of the five. This idea of maternal love, right? Led me to reread some of the religious writings that I like reading so much. And one of them was the Buddha's discourse on loving kindness. So it's known as the Metta Sutta, and the word metta, Metta, means loving kindness in Pali. Yeah. And it prompted me to reflect about how we need kindness, loving kindness today more than ever, especially in these times. So this piece is titled A Metta Moment on the Metta Sutta. And the first word metta, meaning that it refers to itself. It's self-referential. It's me trying to be punny. I think my students would roll their eyes at this point, but this is presenting a metta moment on the Metta Sutta. You hear a quiet cry from the veritable past, almost drowned by the artifices of the world. Yet, marshalling the sparks of wisdom to burn with the heat of truth, this voice makes ideals acutest at their waning. Images flicker on the screen. You try to avoid glancing at the faces of enraged demonstrators, spitting words of hatred, their brows contorted with fury, their voices dripping with bile, and their lips laden with wrath. What happens when self-righteous indignation festers into monstrous self-assertion? Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. There is no fine print here that excludes you. There is no hidden clause that permits undisclosed exceptions. There is no disclaimer that prevents the full and unconditional applicability of these provisions. But when the tinders of doubt smolder with suspicion of the other, how shall the flames of dissension be quenched? How can faraway sympathizers, divided by distance, avoid the savagery of indifference? Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. The treasure of maternal love marks the final sacrifice. But between the intimation and the evocation, the conception and the expression remains the abyss. How can we extinguish a bigotry fueled by digitized disgust? How shall we let go of the guilt of common witness while avoiding apathy in the face of affliction? How should we embrace the reality that we are but children of our zeitgeist, subjects of technicolor dreams? Yet now you run, stumbling and bleary-eyed after a humbler vision, to soothe the plaintive cries of the hungry infant and heed the call of that quiet cry to delay an ideal's soft vanishing. Right. Okay, so now to my last two poems. And in the spirit of seeking clarity and understanding, especially in these times, I was thinking about how the practice of mindfulness, right, can be so powerful in promoting our emotional well-being. Because one of my most treasured experiences would be meditation, meditating in a local park. But I mean, of course, here in Singapore and elsewhere as well, I mean, you can't just sit in the park now, right, because of the circuit breaker. So I'm really looking forward to being able to visit parks and gardens again. Because in a way, the silence of the woods is a kind of music. Here's presenting, and this is the point when, again, I do my plug. Yeah, so there's From Modern to Woodlands right here, which is an anthology of nature poems. So here's presenting Meditation at Yew Tee Park, featured in From Modern to Woodlands. Meditation at Yew Tee Park. Watch closely. The world is always sharper, subtler, or more elusive than recollected. When you shut your eyes, you distill the morning's faint light into the radiant current of now. Exhale and hear. The soft purr of the breath resonates with the hesitant whispers of swaying ferns, interrupting the rain of subliminal silence. The overhanging canopy breathes in tandem with the rustling wind. Unclamp the mind. You harness the power of silence as you release the flotsam of stray thoughts, scattered like the snipped twigs that carpet the earth. The density of your mental foliage empties into the stillness of the sky. At last, against the iridescent glow of daybreak's reflection upon dew-soaked leaves, a largesse of calm fills the fabric of the woods. Arise from your quiet triumph of solitude and rest in invisible, indivisible emptiness. Okay, so just moving on to my last poem I'll share here, because it's now one of my passions is promoting interreligious harmony. You know, in Singapore, I mean, we're the most religiously diverse countries. I mean, one of the most, at least, if not the most. So this last poem is inspired by the beauty of the Abrahamic faiths, you know, the Judeo-Christian tradition, but also the Islamic tradition. And of course, at this point, here's wishing all Muslim viewers Eid Mubarak, you know, Selamat Hari Raya Idul Fitri. I was so inspired during a visit to a local mosque years ago, and so impressed, not just by the architecture, but also by the warmth of the Muslim community here. Yeah. So in your honor, yeah, here's presenting, and this is from SG Poems, yeah, Light Upon Light. Light upon light, inspired by the Quran, chapter 24, verse 35, the Book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 105. It is written that you guide whomever you will to divine light. Lead me then to unfurl the petals of daybreak fluttering into arabesques of spiraling shadows. Slowly, quietly, waiting for the glow of the dawn to entwine with the contours of night. Time itself gains new birth. The twilight of each day becomes an image of calm cathedral stillness, a meditative sanctuary from this vain and blood-dimmed world. Your words gleam through catacombs of misty solitude to emerge into luminescence, for it is said that your words are a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Lay me open and read me, as if I were the scripture gently resting upon the rehal, grounded on sweet rosewood. Then shine upon me with the light of a pearl-white star, lit from the oil of a blessed olive tree. Offer me as a tabernacle for the sun. Nearby, there are church bells and the whiff of temple incense. Let the call to prayer harmonize with the chime and meld with the fragrance of new scents. Here, heaven is maturing to earth. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Wow. Why? How do I? What's your first name? Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry. Like so just either Kid or Y Kid. Yeah.
Y Kid. Okay.
My first name is Y Kid. Yeah.
Y Kid. My goodness, I was snapping. I was snapping behind. I was like, yeah. I was going like that. Thankfully, there is a mute button. But it's such a moving a series of poems from you, my goodness, and starting with the Philippines and then going into different cultures of Singapore, different parts of it, different emotions as well.
Thank
Powerful.
You. Salamat, right? Like, yeah.
Salamat. and it's interesting how Singapore has been developing rapidly in terms of the arts as well, now more than ever, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
I mean,
like the poetry scene here has blossomed so much. You know, I mean, I'm thrilled that, you know, Singaporean poets are reaching out. We're going around the world, or now, you know, just performing like this online. So really, really privileged. And I think it's a sign, you know, it's that it's time that the arts really need to flourish during these times.
Absolutely, and and the thing is, like, I was there twice last year. I stayed there for for 3 weeks last week, last sorry, not last week, last year, May to June.
Master.
Yes, that's impossible. And then I started basing in Singapore October of last year. And my goodness, the it's you have such a rich scene there, poetry and arts in general.
Thank you. Yes, and you're most welcome. I mean, really, like, I mean, just here in Singapore, the poetry scene has flourished so much just within the last 10 years. And of course, friends from We Poetry, are more than welcome to visit Singapore. Yeah, I mean, just get in touch with our poets here in Singapore. I'm sure bring you on the poetry tour. I mean, once things get better, like, sure.
Yes,
Yeah, well,
actually, I was actually talking to one of my good friends there, Venezia Lim, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, you need to like come back here like again." I was like, "Wait, I mean, let's weigh situations,
yes,
because I wish I could, but like I wonder how was it like when you were growing up? How was the poetry scene when you were growing up? And
well, Singapore has had a long established poetry scene, like in all our four, national languages, but
hmm,
especially in English, yeah, which is our official working language. And it's the poetry scene is long established, with got pioneer poets, Professor Edwin Thumboo, Lisa Ping, Arthur
hmm,
Yap. Many of these poets have published for decades before I was born. Yeah, but
hmm.
now what we're seeing is a new generation of younger poets, and they're going on Instagram. They're publishing poetry in international journals. It's amazing, and I think that I'm so proud of my fellow Singaporean poets for doing so much and really raising the stature of poetry.
Hmm.
I mean, now there's a poetry.sg, so
Yeah.
it's a national archive of poems.
And like for
In
you now,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. As in, and I think that we need that in Asia. We need to promote poetry. And I think like the Philippines it's got such a rich poetic tradition as well. I mean, I hear this from Eric Vallis, uh,
Yeah.
in anthologies featuring poems from both Filipino and Singaporean poets, and I think it's amazing. We need to continue this legacy.
I think it's very very important. This time, this pandemic has resulted to bridging the gaps between our seas.
Yes.
And it's amazing how a lot of like we have people guesting here at We Poetry from Indonesia to Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, and I think we have so much similarities,
Yes.
and more than the things that divide us, I think.
Absolutely.
And we need to bridge those things even closer.
Absolutely.
And I wonder though, no, if there is a book that you would love to write next, what
Okay. Is this
what
the
would
point
it
where
be?
the park, like, so, there is going to be a sequel to this book. So this is Love at the Gallery, right?
Mhm.
And which I co-edited with Genevieve Wong from Poetry Festival Singapore, and we are coming up with a sequel to this, and it's called Love and Life at the Gallery. So essentially, it's the next addition to this, and some of the poems that I performed just now are going to be featured in that. So
Wow.
yeah, and so keep a lookout for it. Just Google Poetry Festival Singapore. So that's what it looks like. Poetry Festival Singapore. Yeah. So tada. Yeah. So
Yes.
I think we need to do so much to promote the arts, to promote poetry, and we need to talk to each other even more. So poets and
Absolutely.
artists, and from different countries, we need to do this.
Oh, actually, you know what? I think you'll be very, very excited because in the next 2 weeks we are going to, because every Thursday we have something called Duyog here in We Poetry. It's an off-air art jam, but
Oh,
it's mainly Filipino. But we're
okay.
making an off-air art jam, but for the world, pretty much.
Wow.
And I think, and we're gonna start here in the region, and I think we would definitely would love to have you there in our art jams.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I definitely staying tuned like this.
Yeah, thank you so much, White Kid.
Thank you again. Thank you for inviting me.
And I hope that we get to have you guest here again in the future.
you. Thank you so much. Yeah, let's keep on talking and keep on promoting poetry like that. I mean, like to Indigo, Eric, and so on. I mean, I think let's continue this conversation.
For sure. For sure. Thank you so much, my kid.
You,
And
you,
stay safe and healthy.
you keep well too. Take care.
Take care. That was White Kit from Singapore, and such a moving series of poems from him. And it makes us understand more that there are a lot of things to celebrate. This multicultural platform here in Be Poetry, where we invite poets, artists from all over the world, is the very symbol of that celebration. So if you would love to be part of any of our shows, please comment down below or message us in any of our social media platforms.